Hi there, Tracy Nutton here. Today I'm going to be making this lovely card for you using a range of Sweet Poppy Stencils products. I'm going to use the bee from their Foxglove stamp set. I'm going to use the Take the Time to Dream from their Everyday Favourite stamp set. I'm going to use this beautiful Wildflowers stamp. For the background I've used a circle aperture, which is here. And for the pattern, which I think you can see, but let me bring it up anyway. That beautiful pattern is created using the Kaleidoscope stencil. So for the colours today, I've used VersaFine Clair, I've used Hawthorn Rose, Sand Dune and Arctic, and always for my stamping in black, I'm going to use the VersaFine Clair Nocturne. Today I'm going to be using some different style brushes, but you'll see why. So let's get going. So as always, I use the same size card base. It's just a 300 GSM card stock, super smooth, and it measures 14 by 14 centimeters. So to begin with, we want to place that down onto a magnetic sheet, and then we want to take our circle aperture stencil and try as best as you can to make sure that it's in the middle. There we go. Then I'm going to turn it over, pop it on top. Now for this part, I'm not going to stick it down or secure it down using the stencil tape from Sweet Poppy Stencils. I'll do that in a minute and you'll see why. So to begin with, I'm just going to create a circle of colour. Doesn't matter which way round it is. I will have a look once I've done it to work out which way I like it. So I'm going to start with the Sand Dune. Let me take these off just in case I need them, but there might actually be enough on, there we go, so I can see what colours I've got. There might be enough on my brushes, so let's start with the Sand Dune. And then on the side here, I've just got a piece of kitchen towel that I'm just dabbing off on. So just gently, really light brush strokes. Now I'm brushing it in because if I brush it out, it will push the ink underneath. So just bringing it in, and I'm going about a third of the way round. So I'm trying to work out roughly where my colour's going to come in. So for a lot of this, you probably won't see much happening because it is we want it really pale, and you'll see why. Because what we're going to do is we're going to put a base colour down, so there isn't any white. Then we will put the Kaleidoscope stencil over the top, and then add more of the same colour. So now we're moving over to the rose. Okay, bringing that in over here. And that's why I didn't worry about how much ink I've got on my brush, because I want this to be really quite faint. Okay, and then I'm just going to see how much of the Arctic blue that I have. And again, sweeping that into the middle. It doesn't matter if they overlap, they'll just create another shade of colour. What we want to do though is just get a really lovely subtle shade around the outside. So again, just want this ever so slightly darker, I think. Okay, now I want the blue. So gently dabbing it off because I don't want to see the brush mark, so I want it to be really quite subtle. Just gentle sweeping towards the centre, focusing on that I'd like it slightly darker around the outside and very pale in the middle, because we're going to add more colour once the Kaleidoscope stencil's added anyway. So I feel like we just need a little bit more of the Hawthorn Rose. Okay, and I think I'm a little bit bare here. There we go. Okay, so you have a choice now. You can either lift this up, place your Kaleidoscope stencil underneath, but for me I was having to play yesterday, and I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to place it on top. So I'm just lining up these points, making sure that they're roughly the same both sides. Okay, and then I'm just going to give this a quick wipe down, because this is the part that I am going to use the low tack tape for. So Sweet Poppy Stencils low tack tape, just to secure the two stencils together. I do have my magnetic sheet underneath, but just in case, this will give me a little bit more security. This is quite a quick technique. So now we will probably need to dip into our colours and just load our brushes up a bit more. But again, using the same colours in the same places, just to intensify. Again, sweeping motions into the middle. So blue where the blue was, rose where the rose was, and sand dune where the sand dune was. This time just slightly deepening that shade. Again, don't really want it really dark. It's supposed to be quite a subtle background that we're making today. So we're just sweeping it around, and finally I think a little bit more sand dune. Really quite tricky to tell how deep you want it, but I'm actually quite happy for it to be quite subtle. So if it's slightly paler than my original, that's absolutely fine. So let's put the lids back on these and move them out of the way, and now we can remove our stencil tape carefully, lifting the stencils off without bending them. As you can see, that's really quite subtle, quite like that. So there we have our background. As you can see, it's ever so slightly paler, but still like it. And now we move on to our stenciling. So for this, I did use a stamp press for the main focal stamp, which is the Wildflowers, only because it's quite a blacked out image, and I just wanted to make sure that it was really beautiful, crisp, and in an intense amount of colour. If I stamped it down with a block and it wasn't quite dark enough, it would take a lot of work with a pen to be able to fill it back in. So I'm quite happy the way that this is. Just going to make sure that this fits on here. So this time, just going to pop this down, looking for my trusty acetate sheet so that I can get it exactly where I want it. Okay. Maybe a little bit further over. There we go. So I'm just ensuring that this is as straight as it can be, down and up, making sure that this is now secure, make sure my stamp is down. There we go. So now taking my VersaFine Clear Nocturne, let's move those out of the way. Now this is going to take a little bit of time to build up the colour on this. So just make sure that when you're looking that the whole of the area is covered. You can see a little bit that wasn't then. Okay, so we go down. Press, take my time a little bit. Bring it up. See, I've got a couple of areas that are just, I might have a hair there. Let me remove that. Okay, again. build up the colour onto the stamp. I think that's it. And then gently down. Give it a bit of pressure. And then lift it over. This is quite a nice idea for batch cards again. It's I'm going to leave that there, I think, because it's quite a quick technique. Now I do have a lovely cloth that I use usually to wipe my stamps down. I love this cloth. Just give this a bit of a wipe. Sorry about the squeaking. But because I'm going to use my stamp press again, I want to make sure that my stamp is clean before I remove it. So now I'm going to take the sentiment from the everyday favourites, and I really like the Take Time to Dream. It's a nice shape. I think it works really well with this card. Again, I'm going to take my piece of acetate. I'm just going to move some of these out of the way gently, not on the black obviously because it might still be wet, and just thinking about where to put this. I quite like it further down. I sort of yesterday had it looking here, there and everywhere, although it would work really well at the top, but because the flowers are at the top and I want to add a bee, I think there might be a good place. Okay, and the reason why I'm using a stamp press for this is because I can take this off and check that the writing is actually straight. So just having a quick look, yes, it's straight. I can put it back down again. Now we're just going to ink it up. And down. Perfect, first time. So for the bee, I could do the bee on here, but I don't really want it pushed down really hard because sometimes a smaller stamp, more pressure will make it spread, and I want the bee to stay quite delicate. So I'm going to remove this and just pop this out of the way. And then I'm going to put my bee onto a acrylic block that I'm just grabbing, apologies. So you have two bees from Sweet Poppy Stencils, and today, because I want this one facing the flower, it's the one on the foxglove that I'm using. So plumping on. I'm going to give this a bit of a wipe because it's still a bit grubby from yesterday. So you need to think about the angle. So what is easiest to do is just ink up your bee gently. Okay, and then have a little look. So just want it at a slight angle, probably about there, gently down, and just very light pressure. Want to make sure that the bee is stamped, but I don't want it to be spread out. I don't want to squash it on there. I want the lines to be, the wings to be delicate. If I'd used a piece of paper and I'd pushed down really hard on that, let me see if I can show you on this. So, and then I push really hard on here. You see the difference. So you really want it to be quite subtle. This isn't. This is very delicate, just like the designer drew it and how it was meant to be. So that's what we're going to use there. So I just used a yellow pencil just to colour in my bee. Doesn't matter what colour yellow. But again, keeping it subtle. You don't want it to be taking over your whole design. So just a bit there. And the only other thing I used was a sparkly pen on the wings to give the wings just a little bit of a sparkle. So this is the wink of Stella, and it's just going to, ooh, it's all right, give me a little bit of a glittery wing. There we go. So I'm just going to give that a quick blast with a heat gun because I don't want it to spread and make a big mess. But that is our card finished. So again, as I say, today's card is really quite quick. sometimes it's nice to do a quick card. Sometimes, you know, I like to take my time, and some cards I spend hours on, but today I thought, well, let's see if I can just do something a little bit different. So I'm just going to block this just in case. There we go. And to make it even quicker, I've already backed and prepped my card base. So I've got a card base measuring 19 by 19 centimeters. The larger black layer that's hidden behind is 18.5 by 18.5 centimeters. Then we have this layer, which is 18 by 18 centimeters. This layer here is 14.5 by 14.5, to which we will back on the 14 by 14 topper. So, as I said before, I like to use glue at the minute. So, got a lovely wet glue. Gives you a bit of wiggle room. I know that it's secure once it's dried. It dries clear, so even if it oozes out the edge a little bit, it doesn't matter. Top tip, I've been using a blob of white tack on the top of my wet glue. Doesn't matter whether it's that brand or somebody else's. And it has not, touch wood, it hasn't clogged up. I haven't had to have the trusty pin out for a long time. So again, just gently position, making sure. And then I always turn it over and mob it. Got a little bit of blue ink on there. Pick that up from somewhere. There we go. And then bring it back over. So again, very quick card for you today. So you've got both there. So I hope you've enjoyed my tutorial. It's a bit of a, it can be used for thank you, could be used, you could have a happy birthday on there. So it's a card, I suppose you could put sympathy on there. It's quite a versatile card. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial today, and I hope you have a go at it, and I look forward to seeing yours. Take care, bye for now.